wasn't really fat, and I thought I was okay, and not really being very honest with myself about it. So you have to just learn to say no. The power is in your hands. It was an opportunity to start again. Can the 5-point scale diet reverse diabetes for everyone? But a lot depends on you, what bad habits you have, and where you are on the scale. So in the recent live stream, I asked you guys to ask me some questions, and I really want to thank those who responded. Today I'll be answering a number of these questions. And in case I don't get to your question, there'll be a next time, but I'll try to answer as many as possible. So the first question: what was the turning point that made you realize that you needed to take your weight and health seriously? That day when I stepped on the scale and I weighed in at 96.5 kilograms, that is over 210 kilos. And then I had experienced these diabetes-like symptoms. I was having blurring vision. I was also having frequent urination, snoring, among others. It was time to take my weight loss or my weight status seriously. Now, disclaimer: I'm not a medical doctor or healthcare provider, and whatever I say here is from my own experience of losing almost 45 pounds, from my research and my personal opinion. So please do not let this replace the medical advice from your doctor. Second question: how did moving to Europe and lifestyle changes contribute to your weight gain? Remember, when I moved to Europe, I actually moved to Europe during winter. And coming from a very active lifestyle, I was now confined indoors. And then I also discovered cheap candy, chocolates, sweets, name it. And I really enjoyed it. Also, there was another thing. Being away from family, I think partly I just was comfort eating and not really being very honest with myself about it. So that is how moving to Europe contributed to my weight gain. But I don't want to blame Europe. I want to blame myself and take responsibility for it. Third question: what eating habits during lockdown led to your highest weight gain, and which ones were the hardest to break? During lockdown, it was a time when, for the first time in almost 20 years, we would sit down as a family, eat all our meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacking together. So there was the element of trying to eat healthy, trying to have quality time with family for the first time. And there was also the element of just overeating. You know, when you're at work and you're out there, there are times you may miss a meal, or there are times you cannot really able to get a very good meal, so you eat whatever is affordable. One of the things I really ate during lockdown was cakes. And I can tell you, this was a time we were experimenting with different types of recipes, and I really enjoyed them. So there was also the element of eating too much cake. And then about the same time, I had just started growing fruits, and I think it was the second year that they were in production. So I really enjoyed my fruits. I had a lot of fruits in the home. I also juiced some, drank so much of the fruit juice, and so the weight piled on. Of course, towards the end, we were also having quite a lot of takeaways just to keep ourselves busy. If you were there in 2020, you know how it was. The next question: which one was the hardest habit to break? I think for me, I can say the hardest habit for me to break was the habit of drinking fruit juice, because at this point, I believed fruit juice was healthy. So I continued for a while, but I did break it. The next question: how did your health checkup and diagnosis affect you emotionally and mentally? Getting the diagnosis of diabetes at the age of 51 was emotionally devastating. And I didn't expect this because, in my opinion, I wasn't really fat and I thought I was okay. And largely what I ate was healthy food, in my opinion. And so this was a shock. It gave me a shock. I agonized over it for a couple of months, but I also realized I had a choice. I either would do something about it or remain in that state of agonizing. So if you're listening to me for the first time, at the age of 51 is when I was diagnosed with diabetes. And this was the shocker that made me decide to actually decisively make deliberate effort one more time to lose weight. And mentally, it was not easy, but I had to work through it. What advice would you give to somebody who feels overwhelmed by weight gain and health scares? Um, the advice I would give to this person is that the power is in your hands. You know, even if you do nothing about it, life will continue and it will go on. You will either continue getting sick or gaining weight. So, if you do something about it in terms of intervention, then something will happen. So, the advice I would give to that person is just start where you are. Start slow and just do what you can and improve day by day. Don't allow yourself to be overwhelmed or to look at other people, because it is in starting that you will make progress. Remember, even the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. So don't start tomorrow, start today. Just one step at a time. So thank you very much for listening to me and always coming back to watch my videos. Thank you for subscribing. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel and continue watching these videos. The next question: why did your doctor refuse to prescribe diabetes medication initially? And how did that influence your journey? I believe I had God's favor that I met a doctor who actually gave me the right advice, because it may sound random, but if I'd met another doctor, maybe he would have just given me the medicine straight away. So the fact that the doctor declined to give me diabetes medicine made me think, is there another way? Have I tried hard enough to lose this weight? I also think the doctor looked at me and saw I had maybe the potential to make the decision or the willpower to actually give weight loss a chance. And how did this influence my journey? It put me in a permanent mode of research. I continually researched and researched and researched how to lose weight, how to reverse diabetes. So I was always adding something every week or every month. And even up to today, I still research on this topic of how to lose weight, how to beat diabetes, how to eat better, how to control the blood sugar. So it made me a permanent student of my body and my weight. The next question: what lessons did you learn about food choices, health monitoring, and self discipline? Okay, maybe I start one at a time. What lessons did I learn about food choices? The lessons that I learned about food choices is that you don't have to stay hungry. So this meant I would have to eat different kinds of food, especially fresh food that has more volume and less calorie density. So I'm now eating more of fresh food, more vegetables, so that they take up volume and then I don't have to feel hungry to eat more of the kind that makes your blood sugar go up. The other part of the question: so what lessons did I learn about health monitoring? One of the things about monitoring is that I learned to keep a diary. So I have kept a diary since then on my blood sugar levels, my blood pressure levels, and my weight. So every time I go through my diary and look at these patterns, I'm able to make a decision. I'm able to see when I'm going forward. I'm able to see when I'm going backwards. And it also gives me a chance to actually decide what other changes could I make, or do I need to make any further changes? The last part of this question: what did I learn about self-discipline? I learned there's nothing impossible because at the age of 51, most people would throw in the towel. But for me, I realized it was an opportunity to start again. So, there being nothing impossible, I was able to start again. And self discipline, I didn't think I had so much of it, but the motivation from the health scare was enough to encourage my self discipline to do better. What do you consider an industrial food and why do you avoid it? What I consider an industrial food, one is that food which, if you showed it to your maybe grandparents, they would not recognize it as food. Have you ever seen like breakfast cereal that is green, pink, blue, all multicolored, something in a packet? Surely, if you show this to your grandparents, they may not know what it is, or great grandparents, and you ask them, what is this? But if I show a packet of, or if I just show beans to my grandparents, they'll be able to say these are beans, we've been eating them for centuries. So, one, I would consider that thing that is manufactured that is not recognizable by those who lived maybe 70, 100 years ago. I would consider that an industrial food. I also consider that food that is mass produced and can stay on the shelf for years. If you look at the expiry date, it is like 2 years or a year. But the food you cook in your home expires within 2, 3 days or maximum a month or so. I would also consider an industrial food that food which is mass produced to entice you. You know, there are those companies that actually employ food scientists to just make the food so sweet that you can't resist it. And then the packaging of the food will make me consider the food as industrial. For example, if that food comes in a tin that is canned and preserved for years, if that tin comes in a box or in a carton of some kind, I would consider it industrial because it has gone through industrial manufacturing. So why do I avoid it? I avoid industrial food by cooking my food from foods that I recognize as single ingredient. If I want to eat potatoes, I will cook potatoes. If I want to eat beef, I'll cook beef. If they are vegetables, I will cook spinach or I will eat spinach. If it's a mango, it is a mango. But if it is something that is coming in this bottle, even if it's called mango juice, it has so many preservatives. I will avoid it. How exactly do carbohydrates contribute to weight gain? So carbohydrates is one of the most important group of food that we should be eating. However, I usually say the poison of carbohydrates is in the dose. When you eat carbohydrates, they are broken down to glucose. Glucose is what our body needs to produce energy that we use every day in every activity. When you eat these carbohydrates in excess, you produce excess glucose. The excess glucose is then converted to storage in the form of fat. So that is how the carbohydrates contribute to weight gain. Also, excess glucose will contribute to your blood sugar rising, and this starts a hormonal response in your body where so much insulin is produced to remove that excess sugar from your body into fats. So when you eat a lot of carbohydrates, it leads to increased blood sugar, and this triggers the hormonal response where insulin tries to remove it from the blood. As it removes it from the blood, it has to store it somewhere, and it stores it as fat on your body and inside your body, inside your organs, between your organs, everywhere. That is how carbohydrates then contribute to weight gain. So, the next question. So, this next question is about NancyB's 5-step diet plan for weight loss, which I shared in the live. And remember that live, or if you can't remember, you'll go back later and watch. There's the food pyramid at different levels. So the question is, can I start directly at level 3 or 4 for faster results? Definitely you can, but I advise against starting high. Because remember, many of you'll be coming from a place of very many bad habits, and it will be difficult or challenging for your body to accept total withdrawal from some of your favorite foods or habits or even the amount. So it is in your interest to start gradually. That's why I advised maybe start at level 1 and gradually climb to 2, 3, and 4. But if you have the willpower still, of course you can. But I really think your chances of failure and non-adherence at a higher level are actually higher. Okay, still on that diet plan, how long should I stay on each diet level before moving up? I will say stay as long as you are able to adapt. Because for me, in my case, I would stay at some levels for a month, some for 2, and there's even one level I stayed for 6 months. I would say that stay maybe at a level, maybe until you start to see a plateau. When you see the weight beginning to flatten, it means you need to do a bit more to keep losing the weight. Then move to the next level. But if you are able to cold turkey, quit or move from one level to another, I would even stay 2 weeks or a month is enough for each level. But if you need a bit longer time, remember we are individuals, we respond differently, we have different life circumstances. Just choose the one that works for you. It is better to be slow and win the race. Remember the parable of the hare and the tortoise. The slow one won the race. So I think focus on moving forward than how long you will stay at each level. So please, if you have some more questions on weight loss and diet, and especially that diet plan, please write them in the comment section. I would love to respond to them in the next Q&A so that we are all at the same level. So the next question is that, are fruits allowed at any level of the 5-point scale diet? Yes, fruits are allowed, but one, I would say, uh, eat them in moderation. In my case, I was eating too much fruit. That was the problem. Remember, fruits have sugar. So if you eat too much of them, for example, I would eat like 2 bananas in the morning, an orange at 10, a mango at 4, and sometimes another mango for my supper or after dinner. That was just too much fruit. So I would say eat them in moderation. So level 4 and 5, no fruits. Level 1, 2, and 3, eat them in moderation and reduce as you go up the scale. What am I eating today? For example, today I mostly eat at level 2, 3, and 4. So maybe I'll just eat one fruit a day. And on some days, I will skip the fruit because the fruit has sugar. And remember, I once had diabetes. Okay, question 13. What proteins are best for snacking or meals at higher levels? The proteins that you will eat will depend, one, on what is available in your locality. I prefer that you focus on eating the protein that is available and even on your conviction. For example, if you do eat meat, eat beef, chicken, fish, eggs. If you're vegetarian, there are options. You can eat soya meat or soy meat, depending on what is available in your locality. You can also eat tofu. You can eat tempeh. So there's something for everybody. There's something for the vegetarian. There's something for the omnivore or for the carnivore. For snacking, I would say maybe like a boiled sausage or a boiled egg, so that you are also not unnecessarily taking in a lot of unnecessary oil and calories. For example, how many boiled eggs can you snack on? Maybe one or two. But if I give you cake, you can eat cake endlessly. If I give you crisps or chips, you can eat them endlessly. And probably you'll even finish your packet of biscuits while I'm still full from 1 or 2 eggs. So consider eating or snacking on these proteins. They curb hunger and you don't eat too much of them. How did you deal with sugar cravings in the beginning? Sugar cravings in the beginning were not easy to deal with. One, I can say I had to try and discipline myself. Another thing was to try and eat my protein before I get hungry. What do I mean? If I eat a good breakfast that has like eggs in the morning, then I don't feel hungry. But if I eat a sugary breakfast, by around 10, 11 a.m., I have a crash. Then I'll feel so hungry and I'll really want more sugar. So I tried to eat a bit more protein and also just to learn to tell yourself, no, you've had enough. Especially one of the most difficult was the snacks that were available, like in meetings. They're just sweets in front of you endlessly, chocolates endlessly, cakes endlessly, and you have to say no. So you have to just learn to say no, but also prepare yourself. If you're not hungry, you have a better chance of saying no to the sugary snacks and the sugary cravings that will come. Question 15. How can somebody avoid feeling weak when reducing carbohydrates? How can somebody avoid feeling weak when reducing carbohydrates? I would say eat the slow release carbohydrates as you reduce. What do I mean? For example, instead of eating something like porridge from maize meal, eat the real maize meal that is solid, or what is called ugali or sima. You'll feel full for longer than if you take the porridge. So try and eat the foods in solid form. And then also, the less processed the carbohydrate, the better. So if you eat a little bit like of whole beans, your chances are that you will not feel hungry as fast as if you eat the one that's processed. So once you do this, you will not feel weak because there will be slow release that will be sustained over a longer period. So eat your carbohydrates whole to allow for a eat your carbohydrates whole to allow for a slower release over a longer period. Then you'll not feel hungry or you'll not feel weak. If you eat the high sugar carbohydrates, for example, cake, you'll soon crash and then you will feel weak. Why are you not recommending levels 4 and 5 for long-term use? Why am I not recommending level 4 and 5 for long-term use? One, I think most of us were raised on mixed diets. So level 4 and 5 are very restrictive. Remember, like at level 5, you only eat meat. No vegetables, no fruits, no carbohydrates, only meat. Really, that is difficult. For one, for your willpower, and it might be expensive. And in general, there are also some negative effects that are thought to affect, there are some negative effects that may arise from long-term eating or not eating of carbohydrates. Can the 5-point scale diet reverse diabetes for everyone? No, the answer is no. And studies done in the UK by Dr. Unwin and his group, they showed that more than 90%, 90 to 93% of the patients who tried the diet either reversed diabetes or the diabetes improved and they no longer needed the medicine. But a small fraction of about 7 to 10% were not able to reverse the diabetes. So I would say I would want you to go into the journey with faith that you will be one of those in the majority of the 90% whose either diabetes will reverse or will improve. Because anyway, if you do nothing, the diabetes will still be there. So why don't you try the 5-point scale diet and then you see if it will reverse or improve, then make the best decision. Next question, how do you manage eating out or social gatherings on this diet? This is easy. On social gatherings, I'm the girl who will quickly scan what is on the menu or on the buffet. If it is a buffet, I will go for the vegetables, preferably raw, and the protein. Then that is enough. Maybe just a sprinkle of carbohydrates. And then if I really, really want to eat the dessert in a social gathering, like there's birthday cake or there's just ice cream or something and I want to taste it, what I'll do is that for my main dish, I will eat only vegetables and maybe meat or chicken, beef or fish. And then when I feel like I'm starting to get full, I'll stop eating and taste of that ice cream or that cake. So what I'm saying is that it's not that I never enjoy these goodies at social gatherings, but I keep them in moderation. Then this way, I'm able to enjoy my time out and also not offend my hosts and still eat sensibly. So I believe you can be strategic and also be able to enjoy yourself at social gatherings. So if you're liking this video, please give it a like. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel that I may be able to bring you more of such content. What role did exercise or bodybuilding play in your weight loss? I can say this one is a long-term strategy. Exercise, especially bodybuilding, is a long-term strategy. When you do bodybuilding, you build muscle, and muscle burns more energy at rest than just fat or soft tissue. So that one is a very slow investment and it took a long time and I'm still on that journey. So the biggest role I can say is in helping you to sustain the weight loss. And secondly, as you lose weight, your body becomes soft and sags. So that bodybuilding helps you to firm up, and also it makes you a bit more compact. So you look a bit tighter, even if you're still a bit heavy. So you look a bit smaller. So that's what I would say about that. But my weight loss, I can say 80% is diet. Maybe only 20% or 10% is exercise. But do it. It's also good for your health. You'll build muscle. It will help you to be stronger, to age stronger. So how do you maintain your weight after reaching your goal? Oh, I maintain my weight in different ways. One, the exercise helps in maintaining the weight because now I'm building muscle, which burns energy or calories even when I'm resting. Secondly, most of the times I eat between level 3 and 4. Sometimes I eat at level 2 actually. Or in a day, I'll eat one meal at level 2, another meal at level 3, and maybe my dinner is mostly at level 5. Another way I'm maintaining my weight loss is that I no longer eat industrial foods, and even rarely do I eat at level 1. So most of the times you find that I'm actually eating at level 2, 3, and 4. And then also, one of the real bad habits I had was eating in the night. I stopped eating in the night. So there comes a time when I close the kitchen and close the mouth. So you maintain the weight by maintaining the good habits you build as you go along. The next question, what should somebody do if they fall off the diet for a week? Falling off the diet for a week is a long time, but I would say go back and start again. Because if you give up and continue on the bad diet you've fallen into, then you will be on the downhill trajectory. So just pick yourself where you are and start again. Starting again, sustaining the weight loss is the only way. How do you know when you've reached a sustainable sweet spot level? For me, when I was now doing a lot of level 3 and 4, my carbohydrate was very little and no carbohydrates for dinner, and my graph was flattening. I knew I had reached a soft spot, because maybe to lose more weight, it would mean I need to cut my calories further or now move to level 5, which is carnivore, and I really didn't want to do that. Neither did I want to do anything ridiculous like maybe eating salad for breakfast, lunch, and supper, because it means very soon my body will rebel and then I will binge. So for me, when the mixture of level 3 and 2, that is very low carbohydrate and low carbohydrate, were now making my weight plateau, I realized I had reached my sweet spot that was easy to maintain. Next question, what inspired you to create NancyB's 5-point scale diet for weight loss? What inspired me is that, one, in my time, I had to do a lot of research, and it didn't take a short time. It took months of research to put this together. And for me, I feel that the best thing for me to do to help somebody else, not to have to do the amount of research I had to do, is to summarize so that it is easy for them. I have listened to the videos. I have been able to synthesize the information. I have summarized it, and then somebody else can use it. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to help somebody else use the scale without them having to go through what I had to go through during the research for that to happen. The next question, question number 24. What do you mean by the magic happens at certain levels of the diet? Oh, okay, let me put it this way. At certain levels of the diet, you see drastic change. For example, personally, when I moved from level 2 to 3, that is when I cut my carbohydrates to about a feast a day. I would either eat the feast for my lunch or for my supper. I saw a drastic change on the scale. So that is what I mean by magic happens. You will see a drastic change on the scale. Even the way you look and the way you feel, you'll feel completely different. So let's continue. Please post your questions in the comment section down below. I will answer them in the next Q&A. Meanwhile, if you're not following what I mean by this diet scale, please go and watch the live. And now the next question, question number 25. How quickly can somebody expect to see weight loss results on this diet scale? I would say it depends on where you are and how disciplined you are. A lot is really where you are. For example, if you are eating industrial foods, you are a person drinking a lot of soda or pop, you are drinking things like juice, you are eating crisps, you are eating chips, you are eating sweets, you are eating candy. By just removing that, you'll see already a change. Maybe I would say personally, I think within a month, I would see a change. And I think my family began to notice within about 2 to 3 months, they noticed. And for the other people outside my family, maybe 6 months. But a lot depends on you, what bad habits you have, and where you are on the scale. Also, at what level. For example, if you start in the middle, you'll see quicker results. But the problem is, chances are you will fall off and you'll not be able to continue to the end. So I think 25 questions are enough for this session. Let me answer the next questions in the next video. See you in that video.